did calling Republicans fascists for years lead to the assassination of Charlie Kirk? We don't even know what a fascist is.
It's so unfair we're getting blamed for all this political violence. If anything, the Republicans are the violent ones. Just look at all these photos of them rioting over the death of Charlie.
Sorry to interrupt, guys, but I have more information about the assassin.
Let me guess. It was a Republican shooting off his gun in celebration.
Well, not exactly. It was a 22-year-old named Tyler Robinson. His family and friends describe him as a left-wing extremist. He was dating a trans woman, and he had a kink for furries.
Oh, what a relief. So he is a Republican.
Well, it sounds like one to me, but we have to be certain. Let's see. Everyone knows it's impossible for a Republican to be gay. So I think the best way to know for sure if he was a Republican is to determine if it's gay to date a trans woman.
Well, I don't think it is, Chris. Making love to a trans woman requires a man's pee-pee and a woman's pee-pee.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Well, I know for a fact it's not gay, because every woman I've ever slept with has balls.
It sounds like Tyler Robinson is a Republican after all. Unfortunately, right-wing media will try to make him seem left-leaning, so I came up with a way to stop them from doing that. We're gonna make the Democratic Party so far left that even trans people are considered far-right extremists. Excuse me. Hello?
Chris, it's Stephen King. I need your help. I made a post on X trying to justify Charlie Kirk's murder and now I'm being canceled. I tried apologizing for it, but people just think I'm full of crap.
All right, just calm down and do what we do. Act like you never did anything wrong, and when people call you out for it, pretend they're stupid for even bringing it up.
So, do you know how many transgender Americans have been mass shooters over the last 10 years?
Too many.
It's 5. Okay, now 5 is a lot, right? I'm gonna give you some credit. Do you know how many mass shooters there have been in America over the last 10 years?
Counting or not counting gang violence?
Great.
You know, I think they're doing the same thing with Charlie Kirk's assassination that they did with JFK. And I'll tell you what I mean. They're taking a lot of extraneous trivialities, and they're getting people all confused with them. With JFK, what did you have? You had the grassy knoll, or the storm drain, or the limo driver shot him, and the people argue about shit like that, and it doesn't make any difference. If you want to find the solution to a crime like this, you follow the people. And it's the same way with Charlie Kirk. They're saying, oh, the shot came from behind. The shot came from the side. There was a guy standing next to him. Who shot him? Never mind that no one heard the gun go off right next to him. You know, it's just stupid. If you want to discover who did a crime like this, you follow the people. So at any rate, I've done a little flow chart here, and I'm going to go over it with you quickly, and then I'm going to go into more detail. Okay, here's Tyler Robinson. Old Tyler, you know, he's standing there. He's being all Tyler-y, you know, oh, I'm Tyler. So he's there, and he belonged to an organization called Armed Queers, and as the name implies, they were armed queers. It was a gun club. And they're gay and they're trans. They're all trans women, men dressing like women, and they're linked to Antifa, a lot of Antifa organizations. And then here's this girl. Well, this guy right here, Ermia Fanayan. I hope I said that correctly. She runs Armed Queers. She's a guy. He's a guy. I thought that she was a real woman at first until somebody told me differently. She runs it. And we're going to get into her. And then she has direct links with the United Nations, the Communist Party of China, and the U.S. State Department. That looks kind of fishy to me. So let's continue and get into some more detail about this whole thing.
Start off, though, because this is something that I've been seeing, and a lot of people have been forwarding me a lot of conspiracy claims about this Charlie Kirk assassination that happened. One of the key ones is that it actually wasn't the sniper on the roof, but maybe, actually I've seen two different ones, and you can comment on what you've seen that caused you to write this. One is that there was a palm gun on one side of the dais, just short off the front, and then there was another one that it was a guy actually on the left side or on the opposite side that he had a weapon under his belt or something like that, or under his arm, and that's where the actual fatal shots came. So what can you tell us what you've actually said? Because, and by the way, for those who don't know, Larry Johnson is a weapons instructor, and he knows all about ballistics and stuff. And what do you think?
Yeah, well, in fact, what we have is the video that was shot of the horrific wound that Charlie suffered. And let's deal with the facts. There was a loud report of, what you get when a supersonic bullet travels. It creates this noise that we call a gunshot. That's not created from a palm pistol, number one. So, I mean, those pushing this palm pistol, and I've seen the video, and the guy said, "See, here's the gun," and you're looking, you can't see any damn gun.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I've seen that video.
And then where's the muzzle flash? Oh, well, if it's low caliber, you don't get a muzzle flash.
Oh,
yeah, but this was a high caliber round that hit him. So enough with this crap. This is being deliberately pushed out there by someone for some nefarious purpose. It is a complete, utter lie.
Now let's get into old Tyler here. Poor kid. And I do mean that. He's a poor kid. Look at him there and think about what got him here. Got him there. Let me read you here. Raised in a suburban outdoorsy family in conservative southern Utah, Robinson was described by relatives and neighbors as squeaky clean, considerate kid with strong academic achievements. His mother posted on Facebook in 2020 celebrating his near-perfect ACT score, 99th percentile. The family is not particularly political or religious, though Robinson joined the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Mormons, at a young age. It's unclear if he remained active. They enjoy hunting, ATVs, and family time, and his father owns a high-powered hunting rifle. It's a Mauser 98. Believed to be the murder weapon. 30-06, that's a heavy duty. That is a seriously heavy duty round. You can hunt bear with that, man. He lived in an apartment in St. George with his transgender roommate and romantic partner, Lance Twiggs, a vocal critic of conservatives. Robinson was registered to vote in Utah, but unaffiliated with any party and did not vote in recent elections, considered inactive by state records. So, the people on the left just fell over themselves trying to make this guy into some kind of MAGA guy. And, come on. There's no way. His family said he'd gone left. The authorities had said he'd gone left. He was not MAGA. And, Charlie, what's his name? Oh, the guy on Jimmy Kimmel, he got fired for saying that because it's so obviously patently false. And then now everybody's screaming and yelling. Never mind that they did the same thing to Tucker Carlson, Roseanne Barr, Gina Carano, Megyn Kelly, and to Trump himself. All those people got chopped, and many more for their political beliefs. But now that the shoe's on the other foot, the people on the left want to whine and cry about it. I'm glad he got chopped. At any rate, he was definitely not a MAGA type. Anyone who would say that he was, is either willfully ignorant or just have rocks in their heads.
I've got this big stack of news that you sent over to the producer, and it all has to do with this group called the Armed Queers. The Armed Queers are quite a menace. There's a story on InfoWars. Armed Queers, Marxist revolutionaries under investigation for possible foreknowledge of Kirk's assassination plot. What do you know about this group, Joe?
Well, they are a armed vigilante group. They train, and most of them are trans. So they're actually men masquerading as women. So these men go to ranges, they train, they get out there and look at different types of tactical situations that they can put themselves in. So if there's any connection to the Charlie Kirk shooter in this group, which is what they're starting to find, this guy definitely had people who knew what they were doing.
Armed Queers. Here we go. There's their ensign. And, attractive. Someone with some talent actually designed that. And then, of course, it has Armed Queers Salt Lake City written on it, just like he wrote things on the bullets that he was shooting. But anyway, Armed Queers Salt Lake City is a radical leftist LGBTQ plus activist group based in Salt Lake City, Utah, founded in 2021 by transgender activist Ermia Fanayan. The organization describes itself as a socialist queer organization dedicated to the armed and militant protection of queer and trans communities against perceived threats from right-wing vigilantes, state violence, and capitalism. It emphasizes firearms training, political education, and solidarity with causes like Palestinian liberation while advocating for the abolition of police, prisons, and the gender binary. And, you know, these guys were some pretty serious dudes. They used to take trips to Cuba, and in Cuba, they'd train them in all kinds of, you know, militant guerrilla tactics and, you know, all kinds of organizational skills. You know, people, when they think of groups like this, like Antifa or like this organization, they think of a bunch of soy boy incel LARPers who just kind of sit around and play soldier. And that is not the case. These guys mean business. They do. I mean, just look what happened. I did a video on cultural Marxism not too long ago. You might want to go check it out because it has some really good information that you probably don't know. It all goes back to the Frankfurt School and critical theory. And what they're doing is implementing critical theory. You see, the communists back in the 20s and 30s decided that the working man wasn't going to rise up against the bourgeois as long as things were going pretty good. So they came up with an alternate plan. They would form alliances of disaffected minorities and attack the majority, which is what they're doing. The idea being to cause Western society to be so unlivable that people would accept the dictatorship of the proletariat. And they're well on their way to doing it. What can I say?
You can see some of the different posters that this lady has posted talking about sending groups to Cuba for armed revolutionary training and things like that. We have a huge problem, and Democrats committing murder is a big problem in America right now.
Now let's get to the linchpin of the whole thing, the capstone, the cornerstone, the sine qua non, the nexus, Ermia Fanayan. This guy, of course, is trans woman. They're all trans women. But he is a shadowy figure. I have found two possible ethnic derivations for him. One says he's a Palestinian, and the other says that he's an Iranian. But either way, it connects back to the Middle East. And let me read here. Ermia Fanayan, the founder and director of Armed Queers SLC, has documented connections to international diplomacy efforts through non-governmental organizations aligned with UN initiatives and U.S. State Department partnerships. These ties primarily stem from her recognition for advocacy on gender equality and trans rights, which align with UN Sustainable Development Goal number 5. They have 17 goals, the UN does, and number 5 is gender equality. However, following the September 10th, 2025 assassination of Charlie Kirk and the subsequent FBI probe into her group, several of these affiliations have been scrubbed or severed, sparking controversy over potential deep state grooming or indirect funding of radical activism. No direct evidence links these ties to the Kirk assassination, but critics argue that they reflect broader networks of government-supported extremism. And there he is, standing up on a stage with old Pocahontas there. Elizabeth Warren. There were tons of the people in his organization, who knew of the killing beforehand. They were posting, about something big going to happen the next day. And you can't tell me that he wouldn't have known too. The evidence is circumstantial, but this whole thing has links back to the Middle East. And like I say, it's circumstantial, but, where there's smoke, there's fire. Regardless, I'm personally convinced there's something hinky going on. I am.
Some people say that it takes a violent protest to get people to listen. Do you agree, or should they remain peaceful?
I agree. I absolutely agree. I'm a member of the LGBTQ community, and our liberation and our rights came after the Stonewall riots. That's something that a lot of people don't like to talk about, is that, the LGBTQ movement started with Stonewall riots. I wouldn't even be able to be a student at this school if it wasn't for a violent riot that took place within a span of 3 days. So I absolutely agree that sometimes violent protests and really riots and those kinds of loud rebellions must take place for tangible change.
Oh, and by the way, I've compiled a lengthy list of all the organizations to which Mr. Fanayan belonged. And I'm going to have them at the very end after the end card, the end cap. And if you want to go look at those, you can always just pause your video and read them for yourself. It's 3 cards long. It's extensive. Okay, Charlie Kirk, the conservative activist and Turning Point USA founder, had increasingly focused on Islam and Muslim-related issues in his rhetoric and activism in the years leading up to his assassination on September 10th. While Kirk was primarily known for targeting progressive ideologies, including trans rights and woke culture, his commentary on Islam became more prominent, particularly in 24-25, aligning with broader conservative narratives around immigration, national security, and cultural identity. However, his focus was not as central as his campaigns against transgender issues or campus leftism, and it did not appear to be a primary motive in his killing by Tyler Robinson, which was more explicitly tied to anti-trans rhetoric and armed queers SLC's ideology. Turning Point USA events in 24-25 increasingly featured speakers addressing Islam's role in global politics, with Kirk's hosting panels on topics like radical Islam and its supposed threat to free speech. A notable instance was a 2024 TPUSA conference where Kirk criticized pro-Palestinian campus protests, calling them Muslim-driven chaos and tying them to anti-Semitism. And at that conference, he had this fella here, Riwan Aydemir, a Turkish former Muslim guy. He's Christian now. He calls himself Apostate Prophet on YouTube. And if you want to learn a little bit about Islam, you might want to look him up. He was my gateway into the whole dark mess. He's really actually kind of one of my personal heroes. And he was at Turning Point and gave a big speech. Kirk was actually starting to attack Islam. And of course, he was enormously influential. And then when you consider that Fanayan was from the Middle East and was undoubtedly raised a Muslim, I don't know. It seems kind of suspicious to me. Kirk had also been amassing some enemies from the Jewish lobby. There was a story of last August where he went to a retreat with I've forgotten the guy's name, a billionaire, this billionaire, and they got him in there and they started screaming and yelling at him, trying to make him be more pro-Israel and trying to get him to support the genocide and what have you. And he wouldn't go for it. Benjamin Netanyahu himself got on the phone and offered him $150 million for his organization, and Kirk wouldn't take it. Kirk actually said that he felt like he was about to be blackmailed. This one woman, British woman, got in his face and started screaming at him just inches from his face. And, Bill Ackman was the billionaire, yeah. And there were a bunch of right-wing influencers, podcasters there. Ben Shapiro was supposedly there. Dave Rubin was supposedly there. and they really tore into him. Well, he just left. He didn't want their $150 million. And he is on record. I mean, there are friends of his who have said that he actually was afraid that Israel might try to kill him. So things were getting kind of fishy. Some skullduggery going on. Now, this all seems pretty cut and dry and simple. You've got an unbroken chain that goes back to the Middle East. And Kirk was going after the Muslims. He was starting to. It all seems so obvious. But what gets me, it's a little too obvious. You know what I'm saying? It's just too obvious. It's like the whole thing is a big cutout. A big cutout to draw people's attention back to the Middle East. So at any rate, who knows? Or maybe this poor slob who shot him really was just a poor slob who shot him. You never know. And that's the whole point with stuff like this. You never know. I mean, my Lord, why can't anything just be a simple murder? Why is there always a conspiracy that lurking around in the background? Anyway, there's more to this than meets the eye, and it's going to be very interesting to see what evolves from this in the days to come. Yeah, but if you've watched this and you didn't know this, you've got a pretty good background on what's going on. So when it pops up later, you'll know. Heaven help us.
I have really started, as you know, speaking more and more about Islam.
If you want to talk about how Islam mistreats women, we could talk all day long. Because you brought up female genital mutilation, which is a teaching of the Islamic faith.
Most Muslim majority countries, you cannot criticize the Prophet Muhammad. Muhammad, the greatest man ever to live, the greatest example, was a warlord who married a 6-year-old, raped her when she was 9, and then kept multiple wives.
In fact, this is the main reason why I decided to speak out. Because after I left Islam, I had horrible deception and basically, oppression of my mind behind me. I wanted to get away from it, but I look into the world and I see people saying stuff like Islam is misunderstood. It's a religion of peace. It's not a religion of peace. It is not a religion that wants to coexist with you. We have today in the UK, in many other countries, we have Muslims preachers openly saying that the vision of Muslims should be to take over Western nations.
I decided to do one more card at the end. So I've put this in. I'm going to read it for you. From the Times of Israel. The list goes on, but the point is clear. Charlie Kirk was an extremist, racist, misogynist, fascist. Undeniably, Kirk was an evil man who dedicated his life spreading hate. It is doubtful that his devotion to Israel stemmed from genuine solidarity with Jewish history and Zionist ideology, which sought to find a safe haven for the Jewish people. More likely, it was rooted in his evangelical belief that the return of the Jews to the land of Israel is a step toward a messianic end-time prophecy. Didn't take long to turn on him, did it? What people like this don't seem to realize is that they're alienating and repulsing vast numbers of people with this behavior. And I'm one of them. Anyone who's followed Mr. Kirk knows that that is bullshit. I have seen so many supposed quotes from Charlie Kirk that were just lies. And I'm going to say it again. Heaven help us.
And these trans groups, these Antifa groups, are going to not go away. They're only going to ramp up their violence. And I think that things are going to get a lot worse here in the future before they get better.